Hey Hot Tots, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm doing this makeup look, more of a natural look, as I review slash go over, do an overview of the movie called The Invisible Man. Yes. Overall, I'd say it was a pretty good movie. I tell you all the problems I have with it during this review. But please give this video a thumbs up if you like it and subscribe if you haven't. I'm doing this as a fun little extra series on my channel when it's not a Monday or Thursday post, just because I thought it'd be fun, and I'm running out of Bumble dating stories for now because I'm in quarantine. I wanted to start this new series because I think it'd be fun. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, so before we get into the video, I need to make my little drink. I have a little Tito's vodka that I got from a bachelorette party. I think it was my stepsister's. I thought that would taste good with some of my sparkling ice water. Yum. This is the black raspberry flavor. So delish. Can't even taste the vodka. Dangerous. So, the movie I'm going to be reviewing today is called The Invisible Man. So you can assume what it's about. This movie, I would say overall, I would give it a 3 out of 5 stars. And I'll get into why at the end of this video. Some parts I was like, you really could have gone a little more above and beyond for that. So the movie starts out, she is like sneaking out of her bedroom at night. She's laying next to her husband, and you can tell she's trying to be super stealth. She's also wearing like a nightie that's like the silk nightgown, and you're just like, but truly, do you wear that? Okay. So she's wearing that, and I don't know. I didn't believe in that, in those PJs. So she's sneaking out, and like you see that she has diazepam, or however you say it, diazepam, which is like something that helps put people to sleep. And so you just assume, okay, she must have drugged him. And so she's sneaking out, and she gets her bag, and she's like stealth mode out of there. And before she leaves, like they have a camera pointing into their bedroom, like a security camera. She points it, or pointing into the hall, she like points it to him so she can look on her phone and see if he's been like if he wakes up. So anyways, so she's doing this, and do you ever like when you watch these scary movies, you're like, girl, why are you taking your dang good time, and why did you hide like your to-go bag and all this stuff in your bedroom? Like, why wouldn't you hide everything outside of the bedroom so that the biggest thing is getting out of that bedroom, just like falling off the bed, sneaking on out, and then you can like go through and like make a little more noise because you're no longer in the bedroom right where he is. Do you ever wonder that? I always wonder that. Moving on. So as she's sneaking out, so many things, of course, go wrong. First thing is she kicks the dog bowl. It's like she's walking in the kitchen. She's like, and this whole place is like immaculate. It's so clean. She kicks the dang dog bowl. Okay. And I'm like, this. And she's like checks her camera. Oh, he's still sleeping. Thank the Lord, right? So she then continues on to escape. And she goes out into the garage, and the dog starts crying, and he's out in the garage with her. And I'm like, you had to have let him out. And if you didn't, then the guy is awake, because how the hell did your dog get out into the garage? And she's like, oh, honey, I'll let you free. I can't let you come with me, but I'll make you free or whatever. And he's like, he has this electric collar on, and she's just sitting there taking her good old time, like undoing his collar. As she's undoing it, of course, he backs his butt up into the car, and the car alarm goes off. And you're like, really? Really? So now the car alarm's going off, right? And so she's like, oh my gosh, what do I do? And she still is taking her good old time. Like, she's not rushing because the car alarm went off. She's just like, oh, better run. So she sprints away. When she sprints away, she gets to the wall of their, like, outside of their home. And I'm sitting there like, it's like literally a concrete wall, and it's like straight up and down. There's like one little divot. I'm like, how did she get over this wall without literally practicing? Because I mean, there's no way I could get over that wall, even if someone was chasing my ass, you know? So she jumps over this wall that's super high up, a concrete flat. And I'm like, okay, this is where I started being like, what? We still don't know what the sitch is, you know? Obviously, she wants to get away from her husband. Obviously, he must be, like, not a good guy. But you still don't know what the situation is. So she runs away, and she goes to the road. Like, she runs through the forest to the road. So when she gets to the road, she's, like, waiting, and she's just standing there. She's waiting for a car. I'm like, girlfriend, keep running. Keep running up the road where that car would come from. Why are you just waiting around? If this is a serious situation, you need to keep running. Like, why do these people who are running from bad guys just like stop? Like, where's that car? Where is that car that's supposed to pick me up? Oh gosh, I'm so stressed. But let me just stand here. Like, get a move on. Stresses me out. Who in their right mind wouldn't be running? So she, you know, runs. Her sister comes to pick her up. You find out this is her sister because she's like, you know, talking to her. Like, I don't know what she said. She didn't say like, sister, thanks for picking me up. But you find out it's her sister. And she's like, what is going on? So the sister's just sitting there parked. She gets in the car. She goes, nothing, just hurt. Like, I'll tell you in a little bit. Just hurry, hurry. And her sister just sits there and is like, what's happening? What's going on? I'm like, if that were my sister, she would be like, no questions asked. We're taking off. We're down the street. You know, we're halfway to frickin' the next state over. Of course, as they're sitting there forever, homeboy runs up and it's like, let me in the car, get out of the car, and breaks the window. Which I'm like, dang, like, do you got some brass knuckles on? Like, how are you breaking the window with just your fist? I don't know. So he breaks the window and they finally take off, and you see that the diazepam that she used, that she had with her, falls, and he picks it up with his bloody hand. Foreshadowing? I think so. They take off, you know, and they drive away. And then next thing you know, it just says 2 weeks later. Okay. And the first scene 2 weeks later is her at someone else's house, and this sexy black man walks up, and you find out he's a cop. He is one of her sister's friends, I think. Maybe she's his friend too. It doesn't really like say. You think at first, like, I'm like, oh, is he dating the sister? But he's not. He has a house, and he's very good looking. I was like, hey James. That's his name in this movie. He discloses that he's a cop somehow in like conversation, like, well, I'm even a cop. You know how they do this in movies. And he has a daughter. She's probably like 18, I think, or something. She's gonna go to college soon. So, the main character of this story is Cecilia. So Cecilia ran away from her husband. Her husband's name was Adrian, okay? And so he's letting Cecilia stay at his house. And you can tell, I guess, like, it's a thing. She like goes out to get the mail and she like is like so paranoid and like searching all around and freaking out, and she runs back in and he was like, great job, like, see, you're getting better, you went and got the mail. You know, some issues, which understandable. She ran away from her, probably at this point we don't know, but we're assuming abusive husband, right? So at this point you just see that she's like nervous, but that, you know, this guy and his daughter are like allowing her to stay there. Well, then her sister comes and knocks on the door and you're like, what's going on? The sister comes, knocks on the door, and she's like, don't knock on my, like, don't, why are you here? Like, he knows you, he would be following you, like, he'll know where I am now. So obviously for the past 2 weeks, apparently, like, she's been staying with this friend of her sister's. So I guess it would just be her sister's friend, because that would make sense, because then Adrian, her husband, wouldn't know where she was if it was never her friend, you know? So she's like, why are you showing up here? Like, he's gonna know now where we are. And she was like, well, Adrian's dead, so it doesn't matter. Cecilia is shooketh. She's like, how did he die? And her sister said, he killed himself. Cecilia's like, I don't believe this, because he's a narcissist. Like, narcissists don't kill themselves. They just don't. Anyways, she was like, well, I don't see that why he would do that, because he's so narcissistic. Sister's like, well, listen, girlfriend, he did. So be happy. So at this point, you know, you had still not known like what was going on. And Cecilia finally like explains a little bit to them, like what had been happening. So she said that he was controlling, and at first and she doesn't even dive into it. So you're still like, how long have you been with this guy? Where did you meet him? How did this happen? Like, how would your sister and family not know anything at all? Like, you know? So she said that first it was small things. Like, he would change, like, he would want her to change the way she dressed and the way she did things. And then he wanted to change the way, like, even down to like what she ate every day, and just like, you know, got really, really controlling. And then if she didn't, or if he thought she was thinking something he didn't want her to be thinking, or thinking the wrong quote unquote answer, he would do bad things. And she doesn't disclose what those bad things are, but she hints that it's like physical abuse. At this point, you're like, okay, he was abusive, he's dead now. We all know he's not. And she finally seems to like accept, like, oh my gosh, okay, cool, like, he's dead, I'm free, this is so exciting, you know? And seems to kind of has let go now. At first she seemed like, no way. Now she seems like, okay, cool, like, he's gone. Nay, girl. Nay. Things are never what they seem. Here's something that, like, I feel like I would have been like, what the heck? She mentions it, but doesn't bring it up a lot. So no one is supposed to know where she is, right? Like, she's still staying at that cop's house, and her sister knows, but that's it. She gets something in the mail, like a summoning. Basically, it's like saying like, hey, your husband passed away, so now you need to come meet with the lawyer to figure out like what he left you and stuff. And this is so soon after his death. So I'm like, is it really that quick? So she goes to this like office, and apparently it's his brother. His brother is a lawyer, and his name is Tom. So Tom comes into the picture, Adrian's brother. He seems like a little douche, honestly. I was like instantly like, you're a tool. And he's just telling her like, okay, you are going to be given $5 million because, okay, I'm so sorry. When she snuck out of the house, she goes to turn off the security cameras, and there is like this lab at their house, okay? And the lab is huge. It's like it just looks like she literally went to another building. Like, it's huge. And she hears this sound coming from this room, and it's like, it looks like there's like a holder in there to hold, like, say, like a piece of clothing, or like, I don't know, a robot or something has little like hands, but nothing, you can see nothing, but you hear these little like sounds. Like kind of stares into that room, foreshadowing, before she like goes and runs away. So he was obviously like a scientist, and apparently he was like really good at being a scientist, and he was about optical illusions. Everyone knew this, and he was known for it, like famous for it or something, or at least got paid a lot for it. I want to be paid a lot for something, you know? So she goes home that night and she gifts her friends stuff, you know, and she's like super pumped because she's like, oh my gosh, I'm rich. One of the stipulations though was that, yeah, you'll get all the money, but you just have to be, you know, can't commit a crime, and you have to be like mentally fit. Goes home, she gifts her friends stuff, like thank you gifts for taking care of her. And, you know, this is when things start getting weird. Creepy things start happening, and you can like guess, like in scary movies, the things that happen, like things are misplaced. Things aren't where they should be. One night, she really thinks something's going on. And you see, because you're the outsider watching, you see that someone pulled the blanket off of her and the cop's daughter. And because they're sleeping in the same bedroom, because, you know, she's staying with them still. And someone took pictures. Like you can see like a flash going off. And you're like, ew, dude. And so she wakes up in the middle of this and she's like looking around and she doesn't see anyone, obviously. So she goes to grab the blanket to like put the blanket back on the bed, and someone's stepping on the blanket. Like she goes to pull it and she sees a step, and then someone takes another step. And so she screams and the cop comes in and she's like, oh my gosh, someone was in here, someone was in here. And this is where things start to turn and they start to think like, she's losing it a little bit, you know? So she was like, someone was in here, I saw them. And he was just like, you know, don't let the ghost of Adrian haunt you. You know, Adrian's dead. Whatever, okay? So the next day, she has a big job interview and she goes to it, and like wonky stuff happens, like, and she ends up fainting. Well, she goes to the doctor because, you know, they call 911 because she just like fainted at this interview, which I was like, well, girl, you didn't get that job. The hospital's like, we'll call you in about like a couple days when we get the blood work back, but you seem fine, so like go ahead and go home. She's like, okay. It's like a day or two later and she gets a phone call, and it's the doctor. And the doctor says, well, I know why you fainted. You had an extremely high amount of diazepam in your system. Now remember, she had drugged her husband with diazepam, but it had fallen out of her car and he had picked it up. She was like, what? I haven't been taking diazepam. Dun, dun, dun. And they were like, well, there's a ton of it in your system, sis. So obviously you have been. She walks into the bathroom. This is like one of those creepy scenes where she's in the shower, of course, and then she gets the phone call. She walks out of the shower. She's on the phone, and you see like the sink before she leaves. Nothing's on it. She goes, talks on the phone. She comes back in, and on the sink is the bottle of diazepam with the bloody fingerprints on it. Scary. So she starts freaking out. Next thing you know, she's in the office of Tom, Adrian's brother. He's a lawyer, as we know. So Tom goes, like she goes, tell him to stop. Like tell Adrian to stop. Tell him to leave me alone, blah, blah, blah. And the cop's with her, and they're both just looking at her like, he's dead, Cecilia. Like, I have his ashes right over there. Like, he's dead. And they were like, you know, he's still messing with you after death. Don't let Adrian be able to take over your life like this. You know, move on from it. But this is the point where people start to think she's like losing it a little, you know? So you need to get it together, Cecilia. Next scene, this is where like movies like this start to like just like annoy me, because the next scene is her walking up to her sister's apartment, like knocking on her door, and her sister answers and she's like, why are you even here, Cecilia? Like, if you don't want me in your life and you're going to try to pay me money and then say, get away from me until the end of time, like I never want to see you again, then why are you here? Like, I can't believe you sent me that email and you're a horrible sister and like you suck. And Cecilia's like, what? Like, I didn't send you an email. And Instead, like if I said that to my sister would be like, oh, you didn't? And I'd be like, no, like obviously someone's messing with me or something. Like I never sent that. First of all, my sister would know what I sound like in an email. And second of all, if I said like, I didn't send that, and like, obviously I'm looking at you like, what? Then why the hell would you still think I sent that? You know what I mean? And so the sister though is just like, yeah, you need help. Yeah, like this was messed up. Can't believe you sent this to me. Like you're the worst sister. Bye. And so that part like really annoyed the crap out of me. I'm like, no, that was stupid. She goes back home and she checks, and sure enough, from her email address, that email was sent. So she's like laying on the floor. She's still at the cop's house, you know, still staying there. And the little daughter comes in. She's going to graduate from college soon, or from high school soon, because her gift from Cecilia when she was giving out gifts was like she was going to put $10,000 in her bank account every month until the end of the year. And I'm like, can you put $10,000 in my bank account every month? She just like comes in and she's like, I know you're not feeling great and I know a lot's going on, but let's have like a girls' night tonight. Wouldn't that be fun? And Cecilia's like, yeah, that'd be great. Cecilia's like on the ground and this girl's in a chair, okay? And the girl in the chair, the daughter, all of a sudden, like Cecilia's like getting up, but she's far away from her and something hits this daughter like in the face and she screams, Daddy, Daddy, Cecilia hit me. What? Dude, you were so far away. Like, I feel like I'd be like, what the hell just happened, you know? The dad runs in and is like, get away from my daughter. And he's basically like, Cecilia, you're obviously losing it. So you need to get out of my house. We're going to leave for tonight, but you need to be like gone by tomorrow. And this is where things take a turn. So this is like where in the movie the people start going crazy and they start doing like the come and get me type of stuff, you know? So she like freaking sits in a room and puts coffee grounds all over the floor. And then she has like a lot of room by her. I'm like, what if he was already like beside you? The coffee grounds are just making a mess at this point. Whatever. She all of a sudden decides to just call his cell phone and she hears it vibrating up in the attic. Why is this guy's phone on vibrate when he's trying to torment people? Question number one. So she goes upstairs into the attic and she finds like the picture that he took. Like she sees on that phone that he took a picture of her and the daughter, which is just disgusting. Like what the hell? And then found like other stuff throughout this movie that I'm just not like telling you about because I don't want to tell you everything. And she's like, oh my gosh. Well, all of a sudden the phone vibrates and there's a text from an unknown number and it's his phone that's upstairs. And it says, surprise. Wow. It's like, starts trying to head out of the attic. I'm like, he obviously knows you're there. So why you even went in the attic, I do not know, because it's confirmed his phone is in the attic. It's vibrating when you're calling it. We don't need to go up there to begin with. Secondly, you know he's in the house. He just smacked a girl. I don't understand why you're still there and then why you needed a text message to say surprise before you decided to, you know, put a fire under your ass and get the hell out of the house. It's just what I'm saying. It's just what I'm saying. This is where like a little fight ensues. She like tries to get out of the attic. She hears him or something. She takes paint and she throws it and he's right there, you know, right by her. So he like runs away because he had paint on him. And this is another thing. He ends up with no paint on him in like 2 seconds later. And then they fight each other and you're like, but where did the paint go that was all over his suit? Because now you see that he had an invisible suit on. And you're like, this is confusing. She fights him, and this is the funniest part. She gets away from him, and she runs out the front door, and she calls an Uber. What? And she stands outside and waits for it, and she's just looking at her phone like, oh my God, so crazy. And the Uber's there in like less than a minute, and I'm like, unheard of, okay? She gets in the car, she's like, go, go, go. He's now doing like a 50-point turn to turn around, and she's like, go, go. And it's just like, do. Yeah, one sec, let me just turn around. And you're like, oh my gosh, like, is he in the car now? Is that what we're gonna find out? You know, it's confusing. Like the Uber driver, obviously he's an actor, but that was confusing to me. And also, how did he not catch up with her during all this time? So at this point, she just decides to Uber to his house. So Uber to the house that they owned, or I'm sure he owned it, but that they lived in together. I don't know. So it's to like find out if he was alive or something. I don't really know why she wanted to go back to the house. She goes back to the house. The dog is there. I'm like, the dog was freed. Boy, what you doing back here? Like, did you not run away? What the hell? Also, why is that dog still at the house if Adrian died? Wouldn't someone have taken him because they have to feed him and like be with him? Confusing. She looks all through the house and she goes back into the basement and she ends up touching that area that she said like that it looked just like something was there, but she didn't see anything. And lo and behold, it's a suit. It has like tons of cameras all over it and it's invisible. And she takes it and she hears the dog start barking, so she knows he's back. She takes the suit and then she hides it in the house. And then her and him fight. She gets away, yada, yada, yada. She calls her sister on the phone. So I don't know if the dude, like if Adrian was in the car with her at this time, because like, again, it was a very slow situation. You're like, how is he not caught up to you? And she calls her sister and is like, meet me at this public restaurant. Like, I need to tell you things. Like, I know you're mad at me, but like I can prove that he's alive and he is tormenting me, you know? And so she meets her at this like very, very, very crowded restaurant. And she starts telling her like, I know you don't believe me, but like, here's what's been going on. I found this suit, da-da. And all of a sudden you see this knife raise up beside Cecilia and her sister's just staring at it and it slits her sister's throat. I was like, what? And her sister died. When it slits her throat, it instantly goes into Cecilia's hand and her hand just closes around it. Why did she keep holding on to it? Like she was like this and held on to it. And maybe she was in shock. Maybe that's it. But like, I was like, okay, what the hell, Cecilia? You know, did you close your own hand? Why? I would have been like, what? What's going on? Like fall out of my hand. Anyways, so they think she did that, obviously. And you know what? Shout out to the restaurant guy. There was like a server or something. He like tackled her ass to the floor. And I was like, that boy needs a raise. She goes into the psych ward, you know, the crazy house. You know that the invisible man's there because when she's in the psych ward, he says, surprise. And he's invisible, but he just like whispers it to her. And she's just like, losing her shit. Come to find out, she gets blood work done because, you know, they want to see what's in her system. They said, like, did you know you're pregnant? Which, I forgot to say this, but earlier in the movie, she said she had been taking birth control without him knowing because she did not want to get pregnant and he so badly wanted a baby, but she knew she'd never be able to escape if she ever did have a kid. And so she had been taking birth control behind his back. Well, she finds out she's having a baby. Well, you know he's there too. So he's finding out that she's pregnant. And you can't see him, obviously. So the next scene is she's like walking. And by the way, like the outfits they put her in, I was like, ugh. Like the psych ward outfit was like this light brown sweatsuit. And it was really ugly. And she looked really scary. Because if you don't know, this is the lady from The Handmaid's Tale. Her name's Elizabeth something. She's scary anyways. Like she can really creep you out even with just her facial expressions. And so when she has like no makeup on and she's supposed to be psychotic, like you're just like, ugh, like the whole time. And she comes out and Tom's there, Adrian's brother. What does he want? Again, you're a douche. I can 100% tell from here. So Tom comes and he basically says like, hey, remember how you were supposed to get all of that money? Well, you're not going to get it now because you committed a crime, you killed your sister, and you are mentally unwell. And those were stipulations. And she's just sitting there like, okay. And she does say this to him, which I have to quote this because I was cracking up. It was so funny. And I was like, dang, I'm going to use that. Will I? I don't know, but it was funny. She said, oh, you're just like Adrian, but you're the jellyfish version of him. You're spineless. Oh shit. I was like, damn girl. He basically just tells her you can either sign over your rights or you're going to have to take me to court. But signing over would be less money. He goes, or you can get on a phone call and talk to Adrian. So this is the first time it's been confirmed Adrian is alive. And he said, now that he knows you're the mother of his children, he thinks he's punished you enough and he can make this all go away. And you guys can start a new life together. But you need to say yes or whatever. Like you need to choose to have this baby. She was just like, that's a hell no, sir. And like threw the papers. Well, when they get thrown, Tom goes to grab them and she grabs secretly a little pen out of his briefcase. Out of his briefcase. And it's one of those old style pens that's like sharp on the other side, like the ballpoint pens, but they're actually sharp, you know, which I'm like, he would not have been able to bring that into an insane asylum. She takes that secretly and she hides it in her room. So when they do the check and everything, they can't find it. And she goes into the shower and she basically says out loud, because she knows Adrian's there, and she says, like, you're not going to have this baby. You're not going to have me either. And she goes to cut her wrist. Oh, it was like cringy. And he stops her. Well, you find out this is exactly what she wanted, because now she knows where he is and she starts stabbing him with that pen. And so his suit starts like coming in and out, in and out. Well, security comes because they hear the ruckus and they open the door and they like see that this man in the suit's coming in and out. And then like a huge fight ensues. He ends up like beating up like 6 security guards. And I'm just like, seriously? Well, a camera caught this on film. So they see that something that's invisible is beating everybody up. So they go into a fight. She goes outside. It's like raining, of course. And they get into a bigger fight. And he basically says, like, if you don't allow me to have you, I will not kill you or hurt you because you have my baby. But, and he's invisible at this time, by the way. So like he's talking to her and you just see his suit like going in and out. And he's like, but I'll hurt those that you love. 1 second later, she's in the car and she's driving to her friend's house, the cop's house. And he's like, I'm not home. And she's like, is your daughter there? Oh, by the way, she stole this car from someone. I'm like, oh, how'd you learn to do that? Gets to the house, another fight ensues. She ends up shooting the invisible man. They take the face mask off and it's Tom. Dun, dun, dun. They then went to Adrian's house like cops did and they found Adrian tied up in the basement or tied up in like the secret room or something. And he said like, Tom did this to me and he faked my death and he wanted my money and blah, blah, blah. So she's not buying it. You know, she's like, nah, bis. Adrian did this. Tom was in on it. And then he turned on Tom. And they're like, no way. Nay, nay, Cecilia. He wasn't in on this. He was tied up in the basement. And she was like, nah, bis. He wasn't. The next thing you know, she's calling someone in the middle of the night. And she's calling Adrian. And she basically says, like, I want to meet up. And he's like, I'm so glad you called. So she goes to meet him. And she goes back to her, quote unquote, house that she has with him. And she walks in. And they try to portray Adrian as like this very nervous, nice guy he seems. And you also haven't met him until now. So like they didn't show him in the beginning really. Like they kind of show his face a little bit, but you haven't met him face on. He basically is like, I'm so sorry for what Tom put you through. Like I wasn't involved in that. I hope you know I would never do that. And she says like she has a wire on. So you see that the cop friend is in the car and she's trying to get him to confess. And she's like, you know, I just want to start this off like you are the father of my child and I want to start off this relationship with no lies. Like admit it to me. You were involved during this whole process. Like I know that you were. But basically he's just denying and he's just like, no, I didn't do that, silly. And he walks up to her and this is where you know that like he knows what's going on. And he goes, you know, I know you better than anyone. That's no surprise. And that was like, I feel like his sneaky way of saying like, yeah, bis, I know you have a wire on you and you ain't gonna catch my ass. So she starts crying and then she's just like, okay, I'm gonna go clean myself up in the bathroom. And he's like, okay, that's fine. She walks to the bathroom and during this time, by the way, you're seeing like a security camera view sometimes and like his security camera that he has in his dining room. So the security camera is facing like her back because they're at a table and they're like this. So you can see it from like this angle. So say you're the security camera. Here's her back. Here's the other end of the table. Here's him. So she gets up and walks to go to the bathroom, and there's a wall right here. So when you walk for a certain amount of time, you can't see her anymore. And then she's going to the bathroom over here. He's right here. All of a sudden, you see him taking a knife like this, and he's like looking at it, and he slits his own throat and sets it down and falls to the side. She comes out of the bathroom like, oh my God, calls 911. She's crying, blah, blah, blah. Tells them to hurry, and that he tried to kill himself. She then walks out of camera view, and you can tell she meant to get out of the camera's view, and just sits there and watches like this and watches him die. And she goes, surprise. So the cop sees like part of the camera, just like him doing this, and her 911 call is what he sees because he only can hear her. And then later can see the recording, but he runs up and he comes and she's walking out like all calm, and he goes, are you okay? Are you okay? And she's like, yes, he just killed himself. Like he just up and killed himself. And he looks down, and in her bag is the invisible suit, like the suit that she stole earlier, remember, and hid in the house. She goes, well, didn't you see? He committed suicide. I just didn't know he was that unstable. And he had said, like, you were never going to try to get a confession from him, were you? And she just said, I didn't know he was that unstable. Of course I was. And he just lets her go. The end. Now, I just need to tell you the things I have a problem with this movie, okay? I used to want to be a movie critic, so I watch a ton of movies, so that might also hinder me and make me expect more. First, this movie reminded me a lot of Sleeping with the Enemy. That was a movie that Julia Roberts was in when she was younger, and her husband's abusive, and she runs away, and she gets a new identity, and like blah, blah, blah. The thing that I like better about that movie is like stuff like this is like, I like having a relationship with the bad guy to know what exactly is going on, so you're more afraid of him. Like in Sleeping with the Enemy, you see him being sweet and nice, and he seems like the perfect husband. They seem like the perfect couple. And for like the first 10 minutes of the movie, it's not even a ton of time, it just shows them going to a party or doing this, and like they seem so perfect, so great. And then you see him and being controlling, and you see the next morning that like 2 towels aren't equal. And oh, do you see something wrong in this room? And it makes you like, what? And you see him becoming controlling. You see that he's a psychopath. He ends up like hitting her in one scene. You know what I mean? Like, but you see that relationship, and you see, without her having to say anything, why she's trying to get the F out of there. So to me, I just wish we had more of that relationship so I could understand and know like why she wanted to get away. Another thing was just like, in real life, and maybe this isn't everyone's family, I mean, but I don't know, like my sister or like my friends, if I told them that I saw something and I know that this is happening, I mean, I guess some of my friends and myself and stuff believe in the paranormal, so maybe they would believe that, but I just feel like no one would not like blatantly like first second be like, no, you're crazy. No, you're lying. They would believe that something was happening. They wouldn't just believe that I'm like having a psychotic break if I've never had one before. I have no history of mental illness and nothing has happened before. And then just like how she hid the suit, but you didn't know where she hid it. So she went to the bathroom, and then she was gone for like a millisecond. So like she went to the bathroom and he's already cutting himself. So it's like they didn't even put enough time there for her to have gotten into this body skin tight suit, full head, everything is in there. And then for her to get out of it, like he cuts himself on the ground. 2 seconds later, she's running out. Oh my God. And she's back in her dress and all this stuff, like call 911. So it's just like, that's not really real. Like if anything, I would believe if she had a friend like end up picking her up like later on the street, and she's like gives her back the key, or you know what I mean, or something, and it's like, oh, that person was waiting in the sneaky suit and that's what happened. Like I just felt like they could have really gone a lot further, and they really could have made it better, I guess. But thank you guys so much for watching. I will link all the makeup down below if I can find it. But yeah, let me know if you like me reviewing things. And please also comment down below with another movie. It doesn't matter when it came out. If it's on like Netflix, Hulu, I can rent it on Prime. Or like a first series of a TV series, even if I've seen it before, I'll rewatch it to refresh myself and review it. This movie like a 3 out of 5 stars. Maybe 3.5 out of 5 stars. But thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.